Hello, welcome everybody to this release seminar for Sage HRMS. From recruiting talent to improving workforce performance, Sage HRMS is a complete on-premise human resource management solution. It helps modernize how HR attracts, retains, and nurtures any company's workforce. I'm joined today by the Sage HRMS team, and we'll be taking no more than an hour of your day today. As ever, please, if you have any questions that come to mind as we go through the presentation from the team, put them in the questions box. You'll see that on the right-hand side, depending on where your GoToMeeting module is located. There's a questions pop-out. Drop it in there. We will collect them, and at the end, we'll review everything that's come in. We'll try to get to them all by the end, but if it's super popular and run out of time, that's okay. Don't worry. We will email reply everybody with all the answers. Also, there'll be a PDF copy of the presentation available shortly thereafter. Here's what we've got planned for you today. Our presentation will encompass a reminder of where we've been, the roadmap for the product, a demonstration, of course, of the latest release, and a quick reminder of the other supporting information and resources that you have at your disposal to support the product. Our presenters today, well, here we are, the three smiling presenters for you. It's me on the left. I'll be hosting the HRMS team, and then you'll be hearing first up from Mark, then to Joyce, and then back again to Mark. And as I said, we'll pick up the questions at the end, so do put them in the question box. As ever, a reminder from us of the safe harbor notice. Essentially, it's our reminder that while the team do everything in their power to deliver what we talk about or show here today, it's also the acknowledgement that sometimes things have to change and the team may have to adapt what comes in a specific release, sometimes a change to a feature, a different scope to it, or other such things. Before we get into the main show and tell from the presenters today, I wanted to give you just one more reminder on the naming conventions that we've taken up over the last 12 to 18 months, just so we're all on the same page. We talk about this idea of a premium version that was previously known as the subscription version. And this contains the legislative updates, the fixes, the new features, the enhancements. You'll sometimes hear the team refer to it as the premium desktop or premium web version. Anything else, the existing version or non-premium, as we sometimes call it, non-subscription or perpetual, that only contains the legislative updates and fixes. So there'll be no new features going into this old version. Everything new and exciting is coming in the premium offer. Speaking of the premium offer, why do we believe it's the place to be? Well, we think it's good for a number of reasons, and let me play those out across the screen here. We're all about redesigning the employee self-service portal and other core pieces of the platform, and you'll see that today as Mark and Joyce walk you through. This ability of redesigning it through a web-based interface allows, of course, a much better way of people using the HRMS tool, both as employees and managers, anywhere, anytime, securely, easily. We want to make sure that we bring you the best new feature enhancements, and they will be delivered in this new look and feel, this new premium version, including links to payroll, links to accounting systems, and more. I'll let Joyce and Mark talk about that some more. We're of course offering multi-year discounts for moving to those premium versions because we'd like everyone to come up to the latest and greatest. And so that's something that's always available to talk about with your account manager and indeed Sage themselves. We're also making sure we can make it as fast and as easy as possible to move from the old version to the premium version and taking your data with you easily, simply. The premium version, if we were to try and simplify the story, if you will, is really the start of our journey to provide HRMS functionality through a web browser, as I've already alluded to. Now, before we get into the latest release and the roadmap, the team thought it would be helpful to provide a reminder of everything that has been completed through to our previous release, that's Q2 2023. We'll do that, and then the demo of the latest, the Q3 2023, will follow after that roadmap update from Joyce. But for now, it's over to Mark to remind us of the latest developments. Mark, I'm going to hand over to you now.
Okay, thank you very much, David. Let me get my screen share up here. Okay, you should see my login screen.
We do.
So I'm going to provide an overview of the product to date up to our Q2 2023 release. If you have the premium version of Sage Employee Self-Service installed, you already have what I'm about to show you available. It uses the same framework and login as the self-service module, and the access is driven by our security setup. What I'm going to show you is all of the Sage HRMS functionality that we have available in the web version. So here's the rebranded login screen. And typically this is where you're logging into Employee Self-Service. I'm going to log in as an HR administrator. And of course, an HR administrator is employed by the company. So I'm also an employee, which would have access to my Employee Self-Service module. So logging right in. For ESS, up top here, we have a toggle for HRMS and for Employee Self-Service, which I'm referring to as ESS. If I click on Employee Self-Service, that gives you your ESS module as you know it today. So what we've expanded to is providing the functionality of HRMS in the web. Now this is based on security. So I've defined security for my HR administrator so that the system knows that I'm an HR administrator, so that only the administrators have access to HRMS. Your employees, when they log in, again, it's a shared login. When they log in, they will only see Employee Self-Service as they do today. Your administrators will have the ability to bounce back and forth. What I'd like to do first is just kind of go through the product as a whole and show you the breadth of the functionality. We're looking at the home page here with the message center and reminders on it, which I'll discuss in a little bit, as well as our links to our different Sage offerings. So under the personal menu, you have a lot of your employee pages here. You have demographics all the way down through custom details. And some of these I'm going to jump into, but I just want to show you the menu structure here. Under job and pay, you've got your job and pay user interfaces. Under benefits, we have the employee benefits, insurance, savings, etc. Time off, which I will go into in a minute. You have your safety user interfaces here, OSHA being US, OHS being Canada. We have our career UIs, a myriad of employee tasks that can be run from adding a new hire to terminating an employee, time off tasks, as well as a handful of processes. So if I dive into the demographics page, the way this is, let me select my employee so that I have context here. So the way this is laid out, this is the employee demographics page, and we've introduced a concept of anchor links for navigation, which is over here on the right. I can click on any of these anchor links to quickly jump to that section. Alternatively, I can navigate the page using the scroll on my mouse, my arrow key, or as we're also used to, I can tab through the fields. Showing another example is the current pay UI. So on this UI as well, here's all the current pay information for this employee, and I can jump around using my anchor links. So not all the UIs have the anchor links. It depends on whether it's a tabbed UI or a single page UI, but that gives you a quick way to jump through different sections of the page. If I show you benefits page here, let's look at insurance benefits. You notice on the top there's a message that says this employee has all of the insurance benefits available for PR2, which is the company this employee is in. So I'm not able to add any because this company has 4 benefit insurance plans and they've already been assigned to the employee. You see here on the summary view, I've got my frequently used information displaying here, and I can additionally click and go into the details for that benefit. And these are all editable. I can update all these. Got my covered dependents, which this employee doesn't have any, as well as assigned beneficiaries. And I can click my back area to go to all of the plans. Now, if I show you the difference here on savings benefits, this employee does not have all of the savings benefits. So therefore, there is a new button available. And of course, that message is not on the top. So I could click to add a savings benefit to this employee. And again, same functionality as before. I can go in here and I can click on edit to edit it or look at further details that are not available here on the summary. Now let's go into time off. So in earlier versions of the web version of Sage HRMS, when we released the time off functionality, some of this was read only. It is now no longer read only. So you can manage all of the employee time off now within the web version. So we've also enhanced this, as you can see. We have a very nice calendar representation of this particular employee's time off. The plans on the left are color coded. So you see these colors here, they match the colors over here, which are for that employee's absence transactions. And as you notice there, when I did a mouse over, you get additional information for that time off. We have personal leave here. Looks like here, this is half colored. So I have 4 hours of personal leave on this day, as well as some overlapping vacation time. Now, if you want to dig into the details of those time off transactions, you click on View All Time Off Transactions, and that shows you all of the time off transactions in a grid view. Of course, I can click on the Edit, and I can edit that and see additional information, as well as any supporting attachments that you might have. Now, the plans are located over here on the left side. This employee has these 3 plans. And if we were to look at the vacation plan, this now contains all of the details of that plan that are now editable. This is one of the areas that was read-only prior. So you can see all the details for the time off plan, go to my personal plan, my company holiday, whatever I may need to do. And I can then accrue time on this page. I can accrue time for all of the plans, as well as accrue time for a single plan down here on the right, because I have company holidays selected, as well as I can add a new plan. So all of the time off functionality that you require to manage your employees can now be managed here in the web version. So one thing to make note of here is, these are duplicate pages regarding the desktop and the web version. Any changes that you make in the web version will immediately be reflected in your desktop version and vice versa. So as we're going down this journey, it is using the same database at this time. So you'll have it in either one. One other item I want to mention in the desktop, which was recently released, we did release a change to the gross up calculator, the payroll gross up calculator for those of you that use payroll. And we've provided the ability now to essentially batch employees. So you can import an Excel spreadsheet, CSV file, and gross up numerous employees at a time, and therefore create their time cards. So David, this concludes my demo for the high level there for where we are up into Q2. I will then go into Q3 later on today.
Okay, cool, thank you. Let me flip back to me, and that'll be there. I'll pick up a screen, and that one there. So thanks for that, Mark. You'll find with every release, we'll be including additional functionality until basically you can do everything in the HRMS desktop in the premium, if that makes sense. The roadmap, of course, which Joyce will jump into right now, will provide a timeline for this and the additional functionality and what's coming up in additional future releases as after the web version is completed. If that doesn't make any sense, that's all right, because Joyce is going to walk you through it. Joyce, it's over to you.
Thank you, David. Mark, that was a great demo. Before I get started going through the actual roadmap, I wanted to give you some information about our release cadence. We're going to be continuing to release our quarterly product updates for compliance and tax and other legislative updates. However, for our premium web version, we're going to be changing to a 6-month release cadence to limit disruption for our customers and also to allow us to include more content with each release. So our next release of the web version will be Q1 2024, which is going to be in March of 2024, and then every 6 months after that. We will eventually go back to the quarterly releases, but until we finish this conversion, we will be on the 6-month cadence. So now let's talk about what's on the roadmaps. In Q3, we rebranded the premium desktop version. We've added a couple of great new features, the process scheduler and the favorites menu. And we also added a couple of new time off processes. We also put the Sage 100 payroll integration link in the web, and that's going to be all in Q3, which Mark is going to demo for you later in the webcast. So now let's look at 2024. We're going to have several enhancements in 2024. The E-Verify feature that will let you track your E-Verify submissions and statuses. We're going to add the W-2 and T4 view in ESS, which is a very popular request. We're also going to be adding direct deposit and tax information to HRMS so that all of your new hire information can be entered in one place. And then we're also going to start working on some new APIs for integration with the HRMS and ESS web solution that will help with faster and easier integration with third-party applications. We also are going to do the US web payroll UIs will be implemented along with the Sage 300 integration. And that way you will be able to do your payroll processing via your web browser. We're going to have an enhanced homepage that's going to include some dashboard features. We're going to work on the setup and code tables for the employee, the employer, and time off. And we're also going to add some crystal reports. So let's go to 2025 and see what's going on. So in 2025, we're going to continue to work on those APIs and get those finished up. We'll be adding some enhancements, one of which will be editable grids, which will allow you to edit data within the grid instead of having to click on the detail, which you saw Mark demo some of that. And we're also going to be enhancing our database structure, which is going to significantly increase performance. We're going to be moving the remaining features and functionality for tasks, processes, and code tables. And we're going to be implementing the remaining US payroll UIs. All of the task processes and setup UIs will be implemented. And then we're going to implement the Canadian payroll UIs, tasks, and processes so that you can do your Canadian payrolls in the web browser. We're going to be modernizing our training module and include it on the web. And we're going to be including a demo or trial feature. Most of you may know it as sample data today. Then we're going to work on our native mobile app. We're going to start with employee self-service, and then we'll be adding some HR admin pages, as well as having open enrollment available on the mobile app. And then we'll continue enhancing the mobile app as we go through the next couple of years. Now let's take a look at what's in the future after 2025. We're going to have some AI features that we're going to be working on. We're going to enhance the in-product messaging so that customers and business partners can utilize it within HRMS and ESS. We're going to have a shared company calendar to announce company events or show time off. We're going to introduce a scheduling feature to track and monitor work hours. We're also going to have an onboarding feature and a performance management feature that will be added. We're going to expand our org chart to be more robust and customizable, which has been requested by multiple people in the past. We're going to work on that train module that we move in 2025. We're going to enhance it with a lot of new features and functionality. We're going to continue to enhance the Sage 100 and 300 integrations. And then in ESS, we're going to enhance our View Builder reporting tool to make it easier and to use. And we're going to work on the some ESS language translation. And for payroll, we're going to be modernizing our existing HRMS payroll standalone product, moving it to the web and adding more functionality to that product. And that's it for me, David. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Joyce. So there's an idea of the immediate future and a bit into the future as well. So I'm going to hand back to Mark now, who's going to take you through the latest Q3 2023.
Thank you, David. I will do my screen share here. Okay, so I'm going to log back into the premium version of Sage HRMS. And what I'm going to show here now is I'm going to focus, of course, on Q3 functionality that we're going to be releasing. I'll also include a little bit of Q2 functionality to further expand on that you may have not seen, as well as other recent changes and some things of note. So for employee self-service as well as HRMS, we've moved the change login page to be on the employee tile. So if I click up here in the top right, you can see here I have changed login. I'm not going to click on that, but that takes me to the UI that allows me to change my login information. Joyce mentioned a favorites menu. So what we've done is, as you're using the product here, the system kind of tracks what you're frequently using. And up here where this little star is, it will reorganize these frequently used pages for you. So you basically gives you the option to, you can still of course use the menu on the left side, or you can use your shortcuts here. And depending on where you are in the year, whether you're doing benefit management or time off or recording a lot of new hires, this would change and then give you that shortcut so that you can navigate to those components quicker. The scheduler has been improved, which actually I will say released. The scheduler log has been improved, and we now allow the ability to schedule processes, which I'm going to show you in a minute, but those are accessed up here as well. Joy mentioned something that I'll show you a little graphical representation of. She mentioned in the future allowing editable grids. And what she's referring to here, picture's worth 1,000 words, is that we are going to make these grids here editable. So depending on what's displayed in this summary here, if you just need to change some of that information, you would no longer have to click on edit. You would just edit it here. So that is on the roadmap. That's not in this release yet, but that is what she was referring to. So if I look at my employees here, we now have custom details available. So I've set these custom details up in the desktop version. So that's where they are currently set up and managed, but they then display here in the premium version of HRMS, which allow you to, of course, edit. So I can edit, I've got a couple of simple ones that I've defined here for company equipment. That information can be edited here within the premium version. And I want to show you the safety workers' compensation page. So I want to point this out because it's a very rather robust user interface for workers' compensation. I've already got a record defined here, and I'll go into the details of that. In the current desktop, we have, for workers' compensation, we have a lot of embedded UIs within UIs for workers' compensation. So we did a lot of design work on this, as well as improvements to the layout. And you can see here it's in this tabular format, and all of the information that you need for your workers' compensation records are here, ready for you to define. And I'm just showing this page because it's a really good example of the robustness of the product here. I can flip through a couple of these, and I no longer have to click within a page to get deeper, as we currently have to do on the HRMS desktop. I'm going to go back over here to time off that I showed earlier. And what I want to show here essentially, and that this is on any UI, not specific to time off, but we of course, you have the advanced find over here. At any time, I can go back to my find, change my employee context. In this example, I'm just going to go back to the same employee to open up the same UI, as well as the quick find over here. So the quick find, you can search by single characters. If I search by, we'll just search by the character F. It searches last name, first name. If I search by the character S, we get all the S's. And then of course you can further limit that by adding more characters. So that just provides the ability for you not to have to go back to the advanced find. It's pretty much available on all your employee pages, as well as a lot of the pages have the instructions section. So you can click on that to get additional information about that page. So if I move over here to discuss tasks and processes, what we've done is, actually I will show you, I'll show you on the change job and pay. So change job and pay, we made some changes on that to where select my employee, so I have context. I can come in here now, and previously those were separate menu items. We had a change job, a change pay. I think in the desktop you also have a third one, which is change job and pay. So we've combined it to the change job and pay. And here I have the option just to do one. I can do both. In this example, I happen to have Sage 100 installed, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So it's showing up here, and I can select one, click continue, go through that process. But what I want to showcase here is this reminder. So if there's something I want to set a reminder for later and not complete at this time, maybe through a new hire process, I don't have all the information, I can schedule a reminder. Based on your system setup, you'll have different people available to send that reminder to, and then of course you define the date. So if I were to, essentially, I could schedule a reminder for this person, Martin Abel, to complete these steps on a certain date. And when I click continue, what that does is, I'm just going to navigate to my home page. It adds that reminder to the reminder section here so that you know to come back and do that later. Okay, and I will show some time off tasks here. So we have expanded the time off now, and essentially between the employee time off that I showed you earlier, your employee tasks, as well as your time off tasks, everything, almost everything you need to do to manage your employee time off is available in this premium version, the web version. So you can assign a leave of absence, post your absence to previous year, return from leave of absence. If we look at processes, we can accrue time. You can add the attendance plans, change the plans, etc., creating your absence transactions, deleting your absence transactions, resetting your current accrual year, as well as updating benefits. So one thing we've done is, for those of you that have been using this, you may have noticed that when you run a process, you would get a notification that says something of the nature like your process was submitted. Please check the process log for the status. So in the web version, you no longer, when you're running a process, you're no longer tied to that screen to wait for the process to complete before you can move on. So update benefits is a good example. If you run update benefits, you get the progress bar, you're waiting on it, and then you can exit the screen. You no longer have to do that. Our processes, which we're expanding greatly on with each release, they basically run a batch in the background, which goes up here. I'm going to click on the process log, and those processes run in the background, and then you have that log here where you can see the status of that process. Typically, depending on your data size, once you run a process and you come here, it's probably complete already. But if you've got a handful of them stacked up, or it's a very data intensive day, you would see them in a pending status. These are pending because they are scheduled, which I'm going to go into in a minute. Okay. let's talk about that schedule process. So this menu here has been expanded to have the option to schedule scheduled processes. The either option you select takes you to the same user interface. We just expand one node or the other. So as you can see here, process log is expanded, scheduled processes, it's the same UI with the scheduled processes expanded. And what we've done now is we've provided the ability to schedule processes, and we'll be expanding this with each release where it makes sense to do. As you can see here right now, I can schedule update benefits, I can schedule accrue time, I can schedule post transactions to summary, as well as for the Sage 100 payroll link users, you can schedule those processes as well. You select a runtime. We have recurrence for the process where you can do one time, and it's exactly that. You can schedule it to run daily. You can schedule it to run weekly, and you select your dates, and you can schedule monthly. And you have different criteria here based on how you want that recurrence to take place. So as an example, let's say we're gonna set a accrue time for payroll. So maybe we're running payroll every Wednesday at noon. So I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna schedule a process for accrue time. I'm calling it accrue time for payroll. I'm gonna set that to run at 11 a.m. And let's say we're weekly on Wednesday. So we pay every Friday, we're running payroll Wednesdays, 2 o'clock, noon, whatever it might be. I wanna make sure that I have accrue time so all my information is updated. And we will say that tomorrow, being Wednesday, is the first run, and we don't want it to end because we are going to continue to pay weekly. I click continue. I have my employee find here, which essentially you define all the criteria that your scheduled process is going to apply to. I have all of my employees in this company. I have 66 employees. You can see right here, it shows that 66 are found. I can change the criteria if I don't like my selection here. Maybe it's for certain division, department, location, whatever you may need. Or I may say, you know, I don't want to accrue time for this one person. So we've added the ability to unselect and select employees here if I just want to remove one from this 66, which I'll do just for this demonstration. I will click continue. I get the standard message for accrue time. Do I want to accrue to year end or close the plan and accrue? I'm going to go to year end and I will say continue. And it mentions going to the process management page. Now, if I take you back and we look at this, you will see here now that it is scheduled. Accrue time for payroll is what I called it. It's going to run tomorrow at 11 a.m. for the first time. I have the option, if I need to, I can click this arrow here, which is a skip button. That'll skip it, and then it'll schedule the run for the next time. Of course, it's pending because it hasn't run yet. Once it runs, it will change to completed, and then above you will see the next week's scheduled item. If I look down here at scheduled processes, and I'll just collapse this, you can see now here is the scheduled item that I've created. And of course, I can go in and edit that if I need to change that and continue through the process just as I've showed you. So this is really going to save a lot of time. We're really excited about this. I've got different processes scheduled here. You can see my update benefits. I have it set to run at 5 a.m. every day so that when my employees come into work, its benefits are updated. I have one here where I've set benefits to update for payroll. In this example, it's just going monthly, but you can really save yourself some time now by scheduling these processes. So I would like to show you, I'm going to jump over to our custom criteria. And I'm going to use, just for purposes of this demonstration, the accrue time UI as well for that. So a lot of the processes, I can't say a lot of them, the processes do have the ability to select your employee criteria that you're going to accrue time for. As mentioned, if I click go here, it runs the search and it shows all of my employees down below. If I want to exclude some, I just exclude them by doing this. And then now if I click continue, it would run accrue time on all 66 minus these 2. So we now have this custom search criteria, and I want to focus on this for a minute. So we have added the ability to, based on any of this criteria here, you can define a custom search. You can save that as a default, which means this page would remember that when you come in here so that you don't have to select it or create it every time. And then of course there's a restore default button, which just gets you back to the beginning. I have previously created a handful of custom criteria here. If I look at hired before, and then I run this, we now have 25 employees that show up in the search results. So that, what I set there was adjusted seniority date is less than 1/1/2020. Now, what we can do here is, let me create one. So again, this over here is just my saved criteria. Let's create one for original hire date. Original hire date is less than, actually, let's do greater than, let me see what I already have. Hired before 1/1, so let's do greater than, let's do 2019. And I give it a name, hired after 1/1/2019, whatever my name may need to be. I can save it if I want to. I don't have to save it to run it. If I save it, it will add it to this list. If I just run it now, there I have 42 employees. So these 42 employees meet this criteria. I'm not going to save that. It just adds to the list here. But that's essentially how this custom criteria works. We will be expanding on this. We will also be adding expression builders in future releases so that this will become a more robust search for you. So I'd like to quickly switch over to the Sage 100 link. So we have, for the Sage HRMS product, we also have an integration to the Sage 100 payroll product. And that integration is now available under connected services here, Sage 100 payroll link. Let me launch this here. And we've defined this by 2 tabs. Your setup is here. This is typically your one-time setup. You know, you're mapping your employers, your organizations. I can show you that. I can show you any of these. And you see your mapping. This typically does not get changed unless you're changing something within the organization code table wise. Your day-to-day processes are really run here on this transfer. Your employee transfer from HRMS to Sage 100, your time off transfer that will go from Sage 100 payroll to HRMS that you would run after your payroll. And then of course your pay history transfer that transfers your pay history from Sage 100 payroll to Sage employee self-service so that they can see their payment advices. We can go ahead and run one here. One of these employee transfers. I can define my criteria, which I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm going to say continue. It's submitted the process. If I go here to my process log, I can see that it is in progress. I click refresh. It is now complete. The reports that are associated with the Sage 100 payroll link are available here. I can look at my modified employees report. Looks like I had one person change some hours that went over, as well as if I want to look at historical data, I can go down here to a prior transfer and see a report. And I can see my invalid employees that did not transfer on September 8th. So we store 15 days in the log here is what you'll see. So we will have a Sage 100 payroll link a demo video recorded and available at a later date where I will get into deeper, dive deeper into the Sage 100 payroll link. In Q3, of course, we are also releasing HR and payroll compliance. as well as the VETS 4212 form was updated for 2023. And just a quick recap, David, before I give it back to you. We now in this product have 9 employee personal UIs, 4 job and pay UIs, 4 benefit UIs, all of your employee time off UIs, 3 safety UIs, your 3 career UIs, your six of your employee tasks, your time off tasks, and 9 of your time off and HR processes. So what that gives us is we now have 25 employee level UIs and 18 tasks and processes that are now in the premium web version of Sage HRMS, as well as the supporting UIs such as the find, the quick find, connected services, anything that you may have added to the connected services menu, this home page, and then of course your navigation options up here. So the majority of the work you need to do to manage your employees is now available in the premium web version. And David, that concludes my demonstration.
Okay, and so you can see why we talk about this idea of the gradual move of the old features, the rich set, but nevertheless the old looking features into the premium version. Thank you, Mark. It's a great sweep through. It's really good progress from the dev team there. Date, when is this out?
Hi, good question. So the Q3 release is this week on the 21st, so it's Thursday of this week. Okay. So anything that we've added new to Q3 will be available this week. Existing functionality, of course, is already available.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, thank you, Mark. Comprehensive as ever. All right, let's remind you of some of the other things that the team provide for you, either as a reseller partner or indeed our direct customers. We wanted to remind you, of course, about the rich environment that is Sage HRMS. Whatever step of the employee lifecycle, Sage HRMS helps you cut down admin, stay compliant, build rich relationships with the most important part of your company, the people. Don't forget too that in addition to managing the product in-house on your own systems, we have some specialist partners who can host it on your behalf as well. So if you're considering perhaps there's a larger move to cloud tactic within your company of managing your HRMS software the same way, then talk to your current partner, if you have one, or indeed to Sage about the steps you can take to make this happen. That'll give you a way of learning a lot more about what's available to you and what you can do, because we're all about helping your workforce thrive. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is the brand new Sage HRMS website. We've redesigned this recently. Nancy and the team have put a lot of work into this to help it make it easy to understand the message, to understand the features, the add-ons, and a lot more. So if you take a look on Sage HRMS, the link at the bottom there, you'll see the new updated website with all this rich information, including quick snapshots of various features in the product, a way of connecting it to things like payroll, for example, that one there, and of course, a lot more inside the box. So some of you may not be using all the things that are available. So it's a good way, by visiting this website, this link on the screen, to grab an idea of what's available in the product and maybe look at things that you could install extra into your installation. Don't forget too, lots of availability about what's coming when. So more of this kind of dialogue you're hearing from both Joyce and Mark today will appear on things and places like Sage City, because of course, HRMS is more than just the software product. We have more education, more narrative, more updates for you on places like Sage University, where you can gain training and education about how the product works and maybe upskill a few of your team. We've also got on YouTube and other places all sorts of interesting information about the way the product is used. So you can get little bite-sized pieces of information on a particular feature in action. There'll be a demo coming, as Mark said, about a particular way of integrating into payroll, things like that. So there's lots of rich information at Sage U, Sage City, and the Sage HRMS training and support channel on YouTube. So do go and have a look at a few of those things. Okay, thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Mark. Let's throw now to the questions. Joyce, there have been a few coming in. Can I hand to you now to have a chat about what you've got and throw some answers, please?
Well, I am trying to go through some of them. Mark, there's a couple out here about the Sage 100 link. I think that someone was asking if this is going to, moving it to the web is going to help with the performance because of the lag time that's in the desktop. Can you answer that?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So the short answer is yes. It is also part of the journey in a way. Clearly, as I demonstrated, the scheduling of the processes and well, not necessarily the scheduling, but the processes running in the back end, you're not sitting there waiting for that process to complete. So if you're in a situation where maybe that was a performance hit for you, it's gonna run in the background now and just be done. It's not tying you to that UI. When we do upgrade the database, you will see significant performance increases. You're already going to see some now in the web version, but at that time you will see significant increases in performance.
Thank you. That, as a follow-up to that, they were asking if it will automatically transfer or if it will stop and do an audit. Can you explain how they will get the audit and how that whole scheduling process works for the link?
Which are you referring to a specific
For the Sage
process?
100 link?
Okay. Let's see. I'm looking at that question now. Let me just read it here. Is the process of Sage 100 payroll taking the place of having to access the Sage 100 payroll link in Sage HRMS? Okay, so it is again, as we're on this journey, we're building the web version out. So you still have the Sage 100 payroll link in the desktop. You have it available in the web as I demonstrated. So everything you need to do in the Sage 100 payroll link can be run in the web. And you'll see we did make a performance increase that'll be released in Q3 to the way we access the data, which will improve the performance greatly for the desktop. Which of course that would then be replicated in the web version. I can't remember the exact benchmark, but I think in some of our really robust data where it took something a couple minutes to access, we got it down to just seconds. So you should see a performance in that. And then the follow-up, automatic transfer, or is there an option to have it stop, show the transfer audit, then continue, or does that require accessing the link in HRMS? Okay. So this is regarding the Sage 100 payroll link again. In the desktop version is still available again, and it can be accessed just like it is today. In the web version, you can generate just to look at the reports before you do the transfer, or you can do the transfer, which will then of course generate the reports on the audit log. So I hope that answers that question. It doesn't really run the process and stop and show it and then allow you to continue. It's more of a two-step where you would generate your audit reports, make sure that you're happy with them, and then run the process.
Okay, I had another question about payroll. When will the payroll be available in the web? And the answer to that, well, they want to know, will payroll be available or do you still need to use the desktop HRMS? For now, you will have to use the desktop HRMS, but our plan is to have the payroll, US payroll, will be released in March of 2024. And at that time, you will be able to process your payroll, US payrolls in the web version. And the follow-up question was, what version of payroll will it be? And that will be the new 8.0 version of payroll. It will be payroll UIs.
Looks like Paul has a question there about, does the reminder open and bring the user to the relevant action? It's a good question, Paul. At this time, it does not. It's simply a reminder on the UI that then they can dismiss, but we will be enhancing that functionality.
Okay. What is the expected time where all HR and payroll functionality will be available in the web version and the desktop version will be sunsetted or obsoleted? That's from Jeff. Jeff, we do not have any current plans to sunset HRMS desktop. And the time frame for the HR and payroll, as you saw on the roadmap, is in 2025. We will finish up when March 2024 is when the US payroll will be there. And then in 2025 is when we plan on finishing up all of the HR and payroll functionality, and it will be available in the web. I hope that answers your question. Another question was, I thought workers' comp was only shown for Canadian customers. That is not correct. It does show for both US and Canadian. And they want to know if the editable grids could be able to be exported out to Excel. That's from Stephanie. The editable grids is later on in our roadmap, so that's a great idea, and we will definitely add that to our plans to see what we can do with that when we do implement those editable grids. So thank you for that.
Here's one here, Joyce. Is the Sage 300 payroll link also available in this version? So that's going to really so that I guess the answer is no. It's available as it is today, just like you have it today in the desktop. So as we expand to include payroll in the web, you'll start seeing changes to the payroll link, which we hope to make more, which we plan to make more seamless, as well as scheduling, et cetera, to remove some of the manual processes here. And then that same person, Joyce, you can speak to this, followed up with, is there a French version of HRMS and ESS?
At this time, there is no language translations available, but we will be working on that in the future after 2025. We're going to be working on some language translations. We'll start out with Spanish, and then we are going to be considering French as well. Mark, there's a question about enhancing the database structure. Does this mean database structure changes or new fields, any fields being taken away or changed? Joe Reska asked that question. Can you answer that?
Okay. Yeah. Hi, Joe. So the database changes are going to somewhat coincide with our API release as well. So we typically do not take functionality away, but there will be changes to the database to increase the performance and normalize it a bit better. So that's a little ways down the road, and we're still working out details on that. But I guess the simple answer to you, Joe, is yeah, there's going to be new fields, and there's going to be changes, and we will of course work on an upgrade process for that to make that as seamless as possible.
Okay. So
how
for
about,
the rest,
let's see. Some of those you already answered. Maybe, Joyce, do you just want to speak to them?
Well, it's 12:57, so I was going to see if David wanted to finish this up, and we will take all these answers and answer them, and they will be sent out to you, to everybody that's registered.
There's one I'll hit on then from Brian, and he's asking if we have premium, do we have ESS automatically? That's no. If you have premium, you would of course first have the premium desktop version. In order to get the web version of HRMS, you would install that. So that's a separate install. It wouldn't, and it's something that you may not be accustomed to. You're asking this question, I assume you don't have ESS. So you would be installing the web version. When you log into that web version, you will not see ESS. That is a separate module that Joyce has mentioned. The reason I had stated employee self-service, if you already have employee self-service, you will already have this functionality, depending on your security setup, is because we've included it within the same framework. So if you have ESS installed, you've already got web HRMS installed. But if you do not currently own ESS, you would install the web HRMS component separately, but it would not give you access to ESS. That is a separate module. Okay, Joyce.
I have one more I wanted to answer. This is, I don't have an asker, but it's, I heard a comment about native app. Will ESS be converting to an official app, or will it remain just a mobile version? In 2025, we will begin working on our native app, which will be for ESS and HRMS, and it will be an official app.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Joyce. We've reached the top of the hour. Thank you for coming along. I hope you found that illustrative and useful for the future of the product. As we mentioned at the very top, we'll be sending a copy of all the questions asked out with answers, obviously, after the session to everyone, and also a PDF copy of this presentation. But for now, from the team, from Mark and Joyce and myself, David, thank you for coming. We'll see you again next time we talk about HRMS.